Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with another episode of Anarchy Road. This is a series of battle reports that is dedicated to our Necromunda Ashwaste campaign, and this is battle report number 95. It is a race scenario that has fought between three gangs. And this one's actually kind of special because not only is my gang participating in this battle report with my Jury of House Orlock, but I also get to go against the Cawdor, the Prophets of Rage of House Cawdor, by my little sister, the Kiddo. And I also get to go against what's remaining of the Killjoys from my little sister, Shade, with her Escher gang. So this one's going to be a good old-fashioned sibling rivalry game, which I'm looking really forward to. So all three of us will be racing across the wasteland as quick as we can to some hidden treasure buried somewhere out in the ash wastes. Now, for those of you guys who are tuning in for the very first time, what we are doing is we're playing a ash waste campaign that is actually using unofficial rules. Games Workshop, of course, is starting to release new rules now for the ash waste, but unfortunately, by the time I'm actually doing this battle report, there are no rules for vehicles or for how to use vehicles yet. So we're using our unofficial rules that you can download from my blogger site if you want to actually see what those are all about. So with that being said, folks, we'll play some music real quick. As the music is playing, we'll show you photos of all three gangs as well as their rosters. If you want to see exactly what we're bringing for this one, go ahead and pause and take a look at your own leisure. With that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, so the scenario rules for this one is the race, and pretty much how it works is that every single gang participating in this scenario will be racing across the wasteland as quickly as possible in order to get to some buried treasure out in the middle of the ash waste. The scenario requires a board that is 4x6 in dimension, and taking turns, each player places a piece of terrain, and it works best with 6 to 8 pieces of terrain in total. Players will use their entire gangs in the scenario, and all fighters must be mounted, and players roll d6. The player that rolls lowest chooses one corner of the back edge of the table and deploys all their vehicles in 8 inches of that corner. Once you deployed your opponent, then deploys all their vehicles and back and forth until all vehicles are deployed. Now, all players, of course, roll d6 to determine who will go first, and the player that rolls the highest takes the first turn. And remember, the rolling road phase takes place every end phase. Now, the game ends when one game moves all fighters off the front edge of the table. The road will only last for 4 plus d6 turns in the scenario, and after this, the road stops moving, and movement is handled in the normal fashion. The game also ends if one gang bottles out. Now, for experience, all the following experience points are awarded for this scenario. You get d6 experience points for reviving, 5 points for taking enemy out of action as well. And the reason why is because this is a rolling road scenario, which means the learning curve is much higher, thus the increased bonuses and experiences. Now, the winning gang earns 3d6 times 5 credits they get to put inside their stash. And for reputation, the gang that wins earns d3 points reputation. Each gang that loses also earns a point of reputation, and also plus reputation if gangs are fighting for each other for the very first time. And if any gang bottles out, they lose 1 point of reputation. So with the scenarios rules over, let's go and talk about deployments real quick. So with the scenario rules over, let's go and talk about deployment real quick. Starting off with me for the Jury of House Orlock. Over here, as you can see, I have the Shipbreaker, as well as my Rumbler, which is a new medium type vehicle that I have in my gang, as well as the Tumbler, which is a vehicle I've been starting off with. Over here for House Cawdor, we have our Reliquary of Rage, as well as the Cathedral Rage, our 2 vehicles that my little sister Kiddo managed to steal from House Goliath. She put in her gang colors. And then finally over here we have the Hissing Hag as well as the Wild Widow for the Killjoys with their various crew members on board. So now that we got deployments over with, my sisters and I go directly to the top of turn number 1. We roll off our initiative to see which of us has priority. And that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1. My sister Shay managed to get the initiative on this one, so she'll be going first, followed by my gang, the Jury, and then lastly the Prophets of Rage from House Cawdor. So first of all, Shay decided to do a group activation using her loudspeakers on the Carrying Queen on one of her vehicles. And as you see, both her vehicles just did double movements directly from their deployment zone directly along the top of the table, right next to those MCI chemical work towers. And the reason why that is the case, because it looks like her plan is to pretty much just kind of weave her way through, because the objective here is to basically get to the finish line. And so it looks like she's going to try to avoid combat at all costs and try to do exactly that. Now for my activation, of course, you can see here my vehicles are pretty much all gone from their deployment area. And the reason why is because I have a comms network on my Rumbler, which allows me to do entirety group activation for all my vehicles. In which case, as you can see here, I took the shipbreaker, taking point to double movements forward, try to get to the end of the finish line. At the same time, right behind them, I also have the Rumbler as well, showing up right behind it in order to catch up with it. And I decided to kind of take a risk on this one. I decided to have my driver, Darkside, move up with double actions and parallel right next to the Reliquary of Rage, because this is a super heavy transport and I think I could definitely use this for my gang. So I'm going to try to hijack as best I can. So using my Riptor's commanding presence ability, he then activates the rest of his gangs. Riptor does a double action to board on top of the vehicle as well as Tango Reese, my two prospects. My two wreckers going on board as well. As you can see, Mr. Smug has been sent to go against Tango. Reese is going against Ghost at this point. At the same time, Riptor's going against Noob. So we'll talk about exactly how those combats turn out and then talk about the activations for the Prophets of Rage. So when it comes to the combat between my gangers versus the members of the Prophets of Rage, I might have made a huge mistake doing this. So first of all, let's talk about Tango. Tango was able to put a serious injury directly on Mr. Smug, and unfortunately for the kiddo, Mr. Smug also failed his initiative test, so because he does plummet to the ground, he is seriously injured and he is currently bleeding out. Meanwhile, the combat between Reese as well as Ghost was not all that good. I was able to put one wound directly onto Ghost. However, I forgot that Ghost was a Voidborn Hide Scum, and he managed to put a flesh wound directly onto Reese, which is kind of bad for her because she only has 1 toughness now, and that is absolutely terrifying. Meanwhile, the combat between Riptor as well as Noob, I just flood my rolls. I was only able to get 1 wound directly onto Noob. At the same time, though, Noob was able to get 1 wound onto me. I was pretty lucky on that one because thankfully Griever, which is my Cyber Mastiff, was able to cause some interference with Noob, so because of that, I was only able to get 1 wound onto me. And at this point, I'm realizing that I might have made a huge mistake trying to board this vehicle and try to take it out because I forgot the Cold Trader's on board, and that's a really bad move on my part. So with the combat over with, we go directly to the rest of turn number 1 for the Prophets of Rage. So going on with the rest of the activation for the kiddo with the Prophets of Rage, she then activates her leader, the Conflagrator, does a group activation with her driver, who moves up the Cathedral Rage up his double moving allowance, moving up 14 inches, paralleling alongside the Killjoys. At the same time, she also used the Conflagrant's Overseer ability directly onto Gisman the Exemplar, who opens fire twice with the autocannon directly into the Wild Widow. Managed to cripple the hull as well, eating up all 4 wounds. So because of that, that's a pretty precarious spot for that vehicle, because if the kiddo is able to put some more wounds at the flesh wounds on this vehicle as well, it will become crippled and no one can actually occupy it, which is actually dangerous. At the same time, she also has Velk the Eremite also use their ability to generate Faith Dice. Using their servant ability, she also generates 3 Faith Dice during this first activation as well. So with that being said, we go to the rest of the actions for turn number 1. So continuing on with our actions for turn number 1, Shay goes next. Shay then activates Lady Loretta, which is her Death Maiden. Lady Loretta uses a somersault ability to jump directly on the top of this walkway and then moves up her normal movement allowance directly to the ends of it. It looks like Shade is going to try to do a boarding action with Lady Loretta later on and try to board onto the Cathedral Rage and cause some problems, which is actually a pretty good idea considering that the Death Maiden is actually really good at close combat. Meanwhile, for my activation, I then activate Dum Dum, my Ammo Jack, next. He does a double action to board directly onto the Reliquary of Rage. He actually goes and charges directly into Ghost. Managed to put a serious injury onto that guy and to kick him off the vehicle at the same time with his power hammer. So that part was absolutely fantastic. What was not so great, however, was that Malai decided to do a group activation with both Mr. Sinister, the Cold Trader. Those guys both put attacks directly into Riptor. In the end, what it was is that they managed to put 1 wound directly onto him from Malai, but it was Mr. Sinister's stiletto knife that put a serious injury directly onto my leader, which is a really bad spot for him to be in because he would get taken out with a coup de grace, which is all kinds of bad. So with the rest of that, with that first set of activations over with, we continue on with turn number 1. So this part is taking place after several activations, so I'm just going to run through each of the gangs and talk about exactly what happened. So first off, for the Escher was able to manage to take care of all the wounds on the Wild Widow, able to heal it all up, both through Mad Tail Jab, the driver, as well as the Water Guild, all taking intelligence checks in order to fix that up, so they're perfectly fine. Meanwhile, over here, most of the action took place over here directly onto the Reliquary of Rage. As you can see, a lot of things have happened. In the end, Filthy Madritha was able to put a out cold result directly onto Riptor, so he he does go out of action, so I do lose my leader, which is all kinds of bad. At the same time, this whole melee just pretty much breaks out. I end up sending Reptile in to go to do close combat attacks by boarding actions, but unfortunately for him, not much really happened there. At the same time, she also tries to counterattack as well with some of her fighters as well. Going in with Orn the Pilgrim, he managed to charge in, the Redemptionist, managed to charge directly into Reese and also put a serious injury onto her, which is a bad spot for her to be in as well. So as you can see, lots of going on with this boarding action. And like I said, I made a huge mistake trying to hijack this vehicle as well. So with the turn 1 activations over with, we go directly to the end phase. Alright, so during the end phase, unfortunately for the kiddo, she wasn't able to generate any more faith dice, so she currently has 3 faith dice directly onto the battlefield. As when it comes to injuries, as you can see, Ghost is still seriously injured. However, Mr. Smug is still seriously injured. However, Ghost though manages to recover with a flesh wound, so he's perfectly fine. At the same time, Reese is also still seriously injured as well. So with the end of the end phase over with turn number 1, we go directly to the top of turn number 2, and both my sisters and I roll off for initiative to see which of us will be going first. So that takes directly to the top of turn number 2, and the Killjoys get the initiative on this one. And if you notice, the table looks a little bit different, and the reason why is because we are playing using rolling road scenario rules, which means that the terrain shifts to the left 6 inches at the beginning of each turn. And as you can see, all the buildings have shifted over to the left-hand side 6 inches as well, all the terrain pieces. And at the same time, we also have a brand new building as well as a vehicle showing up on the right-hand side of the table. So with turn number 2 starting off with, the Killjoys managed to get the initiative on this one. So the very first thing that ends up happening is that Shade actually declares a charge at Lady Loretta. She does a boarding action, jumping off of this gangplank up here on the top of the MCI Chemical Works, lands directly into the Reliquary of Rage, and as you can see, she does a lot of damage. With her Combat Virtuoso skill, she basically gets a 3-inch versatile trait for all of her swords that she uses, and since she uses a stiletto knife as well as a stiletto sword, as you can see, she brought the pain. She actually hit 3 people all at the same time: Villikin, the Aramite, as well as the Master Blaster, the Ammo Jack, as well as Junibed, the Juby. Managed to put 2 of those fighters, seriously injured all 3 of them, as well as put a flesh wound directly onto Junibed. Junibed actually got a flesh wound earlier, but because Junibed failed their initiative test, they fell to the ground and suffered a flesh wound on top of that as well. Now, going back from there, my sister, the kiddo, goes next. She does a group activation using Ada the Flagrant account, and she actually activates both Gisman the Exemplar, as well as these 2 guys. I believe that's Jackalome as well as Nebakar. The name of those 2 guys are armed with pole arms. All 4 of those fighters actually try to go directly into Lady Loretta, but unfortunately for the kiddo, she just flubbed all of her rolls, so because of that, nothing much really happens there. So because of that, Lady Loretta is basically holding up this entire vehicle just by herself with close combat, which is absolutely insane. Meanwhile, when we go over here to the next side over here, the first thing I do for my activation, because I go third, I actually activate Dark Side, and Dark Side actually drives forward, does double movements forward to go to escape, so that way my vehicle doesn't get hijacked. And at the same time, I was able to run over a Ghost, at the same time put him out of action, which is all kinds of awesome as well. And that pretty much makes up our activations for turn number 2 up to this point. So moving on to the rest of turn number 2, once again, this is after several activations, so let's go and talk about that real quick. So first of all, the Carrying Queen does a double set of movements forward, heading directly towards the end of the table, trying to travel as quick as they can in order to end the race. At the same time, she also moves the Wild Widow up to the left hand, to the turn 180 degrees, so that way it looks like she's going to plan on using that vehicle to go directly into the Cathedral Rage. Meanwhile, everybody on the Cathedral Rage has been activated, so nothing happens there. However, over here, though, the Reliquary of Rage, Malaya actually gets activated first, and then she activates the driver of this vehicle. Basically, he charges a double action forward to smash directly into the back of the Tumbler, which is my vehicle, puts 3 wounds on my hull, which is all kinds of bad. At the same time, several combats take place. Malaya does try to attack Reptile, but unfortunately fails. The same thing happens over here with Noob trying to attack Tetsuo, but unfortunately he fails there as well. Meanwhile, for my activations, for the most part, I just pretty much move my vehicles. The first thing I do is I move up the Shipbreaker, doing double movements, moving up 22 inches forward, and directly towards the end of the finish line, because hopefully, if I can end this scenario quickly, I can end this with a victory by winning the race, so there's my hopes there. At the same time, while that's occurring over here in the top, as you can see, I move up the Rumbler as well, doing double movements directly to help out. So that way my plan is, if I don't manage to get to the end of the line, I have a vehicle full of crew members who could actually board on top of the Reliquary of Rage and actually help out my gang as well. And so with that, that pretty much makes it the turn so far for turn number 2. The last thing we're going to do now is talk about the rest of the turns activations for turn number 2. What ended up happening is that, of course, the Killjoys are pretty much all activated for the most part. But for the Kiddo, though, we forgot that Giftsman the Exemplar didn't actually go during the combat, during the last earlier part of the turn. It was just these three fighters as well as the leader. So because that Giftsman the Exemplar does a basic action aim with his autocannon, another basic action to open fire with his autocannon all the way across the battlefield directly towards my Shipbreaker, aimed for the legs, what he ended up doing. Actually ended up crippling the legs as well, so because of that, this vehicle was not going to be able to move originally. However, as the rest of the turn pretty much developed for the rest of the turn, I was able to get both Johnny as well as Sorta to do intelligence checks and pass, repair the legs, putting 2 wounds on us, so because of the legs can still move, so hopefully the next turn I could actually end this with a victory by actually making it to the finish line. Meanwhile, most of the actions took place over here in the fight between the Reliquary of Rage as well as the Tumbler. As you can see, just a huge melee just pretty much broke out for the most part going on inside of this fight. So let's go and talk about exactly what ended up happening. So first of all, Order the Pilgrim actually put a coup de grace directly onto Reese, putting her out of action. So because that she's got an out cold result, so that part was pretty cool for me anyways, and also pretty good for the Kiddo as well. However, what was not so great is that Tango then went next and attacked directly into Orm with both of his stub guns, managed to put him out of action and gave him a memorable death as well. So just like that, Orm is now eliminated off the roster for the Prophets of Rage, and also net myself a bonus experience point as well. So that part was epic. And because the fight pretty much here was pretty much freed up, I then had Dum Dum charge directly into the driver of the vehicle as well. So because I was able to put a serious injury as well as a flesh wound onto him, and of course the melee is still going on back over here in the back of the vehicle. And that pretty much ends turn number 2 for this one. So with turn number 2 over with, we go directly to the end phase. So that takes us directly to the end phase of turn number 2, and as you can see, all the terrain has shifted down 6 inches as well. Nobody's colliding with it because of the rolling road phase, so everyone is still going good. At the same time, we have some more ruins and rubble popping up here at the edge of the table here towards the finish line. Now, when it comes to the end phase, of course, everybody passed their bottle test, so no harm, no foul there. When it came to injuries, mainly for the most part, most of them was for House Cawdor. As you can see, the Prophets of Rage, Junibed is still seriously injured. Same thing with her ammo jack, Master Blaster. However, Villikin, the Eremite, though, does manage to get a flesh wound, so because of that, character will be able to pop up here in a little bit. Meanwhile, at the same time, as you can see, the driver is still seriously injured as well. And that pretty much ends turn number 2 on this one. So with turn number 2 over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 3. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 3, and the Killjoys managed to get the initiative on this one, so Escher will be going first. And the first thing that happens is that Shade then activates Lady Loretta. And Lady Loretta, the reason why she activates her first is because she has the Rain of Blows skill, which means that fighting for her is a simple action, which means she could actually fight twice. And when combined with her Combat Virtuoso skill, her Stiletto Knife and Sword have the versatile trait up to 3 inches, and so she's just a whirlwind of destruction. And as you can see, she pretty much brought the pain on this one. As you can see, she managed to put a serious injury on a Nebukar and knock him off of the vehicle as well. Also managed to put a critical injury directly into Otta the Conflagrant, so because she will need to make a medical escort mission. But luckily for the kill, though, she does have a road dock, so no harm, no foul there. And then finally managed to put a hand injury directly onto Jackalum as well, so things are not looking very good right now for Cawdor with the Prophets of Rage. So now that she's done, of course, the next person that goes next is for me for my active activations. For my first activation, I activate the Shipbreaker. And as you can see in this picture, now I managed to repair one of the points of wounds on my vehicle for Johnny. Managed to do that, and then he also activates Scorpion to drive the vehicle forward, making it all the way to the finish line, thus bringing the end to this game with a victory for House Orlock with the race. Which is pretty good considering because there's a huge melee taking place over here in the middle of the table, and I was afraid to lose my vehicle as well. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the post game because this game is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
So first off, let's talk about the Prophets of Rage of House Cawdor. For injuries, Otta the Conflagrant actually suffered a critical injury but made a medical escort mission to Old Dock Methuselah, their road dock. So because of that, instead of suffering a death, it actually suffers a hobbling injury, losing 1 point to their movement characteristic. Orn the Pilgrim suffered a memorable death, so he is eliminated off the roster. Jackalum suffered a hand injury and goes to recovery with -1 to his weapon skill, and Ghost makes a full recovery from the Cold Traders. Now for advancements, Otta the Conflagrant levels up to level 6, earning +1 to their movement value and also gain 10 points points of added to their credit value, so they negate that earlier injury. At the same time, Sacred Simeon levels up to level 2, earning +1 to his toughness, earning 30 points to his credit value, and Filthy Midrotha does exactly the same thing, leveling up to level 6, earning +1 to her toughness, and adding 30 credits to her value as well. Now from their territories, from the Wasteland territory, they earn 1 point of reputation, as well as finding a mineral outcropping, earning 34 credits. From the Gambling Den, they earn 1 point of reputation from that, as well as 45 credits. Because their farm produces food, they avoid starvation, earn 30 credits on top of that, and for their workshop, they also earn 90 credits, and also retain the services of Master Blaster. And for their Waterstill territory, they lose that territory to my gang, because I was the one that won the scenario. Now from the trading post, they end up earning 199 credits from their territories, and with those 199 credits, they recruit a new Redemptionist Deacon named Deacon Kane. They equipped with mesh armor, stub gun, as well as dum-dum rounds, and they also gave him the heavy stubber that they had located in their stash as well. They also recruited a new Redemptionist Brethren specialist named Brother Abel, and they equipped that guy with the grenade launcher, stub gun, dum-dum rounds, as well as mesh armor that was originally controlled by Orn the Pilgrim. They placed the remaining 19 credits into the stash, and they maintained the alliance with the Cold Traders, with Filthy Midrotha chosen for the Imperial Entanglements drawback. Now for the reputation, they earned 2 points of reputation for their territories, as well as 1 from their scenario, bringing their grand total to 25 points in total. Their new record now is at 4 wins and 3 losses, and their new gang rank now is at 7,205 points. So moving on to the Killjoys of House Escher. For Shade's gang, she actually suffered no injuries in this battle report. For advancements, 4 members of Shade's gang did advance. Lady Loretta earned level 5, earning +1 strength and +1 toughness, and also increasing her credit value by 60 credits. Mab's Helljab the Ganger also leveled up to level 5, earning +1 to her Ballista skill, and also increasing her credit value by 20 credits in total. And then finally, Bella and Blitz, the 2 Phalanxes, they leveled up to full levels 4 and 6. Bella leveled up to +1 to their willpower, earning 5 additional credits to their value, and Blitz leveled up to level 6, earning +1 to their toughness and increasing their value by 30 credits as well. From their territories, from the Wasteland territory, they earn 1 point of reputation, as well as 60 credits as well from mineral outcroppings. With those 60 credits, they spent all 60 of it in order to avoid starvation. And because of that, they also lose their alliance with the Water Guild, because it was already disquieted to begin with, and then that not being able to pay the water tithes broke the alliance permanently. Now for the reputation, they earn 1 point of reputation for their territories, as well as 1 from their scenario, giving them a grand total of 16 in total. Their new record now is at 2 wins and 4 losses, and the new gang rank now is at 3,360 points. Now, as for my gang, the Jury, for Riptor and Reese, those are the 2 injuries I suffered. They both got out cold results. However, a lot of members of my gang actually leveled up this time. Limited level up to level 3, earning +1 to his toughness, as well as 30 credits to his value. Johnny also leveled up to level 3, earning +1 to his toughness, and increasing his value to 30 credits as well. Darkside leveled up to level 5, because he leveled up twice, earning +1 to his cool, as well as +10 credits to his value. And he also became a specialist as well, which is all kind of awesome. Now, as for Sorter, as well as Griever, Sorter and Griever, both of them leveled up to level 4 and 2 respectively. Both of them got +1 to their willpower, also increasing their credit score by 5 credits apiece. And then Tango and Reese also leveled up as well, levels 4 and 3 respectively. And they both got +1 to their toughness, as well as earning 30 credits to their value apiece. So those guys are pretty tough now. Now for my territories, for my Wasteland, I earned 1 point of reputation, as well as found a mineral outcropping worth 26 credits. I also got for my Grifter territory, I retained the services of Blackfinger, earned 70 credits from that. For my workshop, I still retained the services of Dum Dum, and earned 20 credits from that as well. For my farm, I avoid starvation, earned 40 credits from that. For my Road Dog shop, I still retained Sawbones' services, as well as earned 30 credits. For my settlement, I earned 50 credits from that. And for my water still that I captured from the Prophets of Rage, I earned 110 credits from that. So from the trading post, I earned 60 credits from the scenario, 346 credits from my territories, giving me 416 credits in total. With those, I recruited 2 new wreckers named Cash as well as Mad Teddy. I equipped Cash and Mad Teddy with one of Tango's stub guns apiece with their dum-dum rounds, knives, as well as multi-bombs for those guys as well. And then I took Tango's, then I purchased 2 plasma pistols for Tango, so that way I can exploit that gunfighter ability as well. And I also purchased multi-bombs for Reese as well, so that way these guys can just dive bomb on our opponents and blow up their vehicles with multi-bombs. Then I took the 6 remaining credits I left over and I put that directly into the stash. Now for my reputation, I earned 1 point of reputation for my territories, as well as 3 points of reputation from the scenario, giving me a grand total of 23 points of reputation in total. My new record now is at 7 wins and 0 losses, and my new gang rank now is at 5,130 points. So that's going to do it for this week, guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is valuable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's going to do it for this one, you guys. I'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.